selección iraní va a jugar.
The Iranian team is going to play in the United States. I think they have 3 games. There are 3 in the first round. So, the 3 games of the Iranian team are in the United States. The United States does not want the Iranian team to stay overnight in the United States, but they are going to play the 3 games there. So, they asked us if they can stay overnight in Mexico. And we said yes, there is no problem, we have no issue with it. So, they are looking for the venue to be in Tijuana, so that they can stay overnight and travel to the games that will take place in the United States. So, we have no reason to deny them the possibility of staying in Mexico.
Is Mexico openly defying the U.S. over Iran, as President Claudia Sheinbaum throws open her country's doors to an Iranian team that Trump's America didn't even want staying overnight on its soil? Is this Sheinbaum's biggest diplomatic snub yet, with Mexico calmly offering Iran exactly what the U.S. refused, a safe base just across the border while Washington keeps them at arm's length? Is Mexico now undercutting U.S. policy in real time, stepping in to host Iran's players right as the showdown between Mojtaba and Trump shapes everything from sanctions to security? By saying there is no problem with Iran staying in Tijuana, did Sheinbaum just embarrass Trump's America on the global stage, making Washington look petty while Mexico poses as the reasonable neighbor? And has football suddenly become the latest front in U.S.-Iran tensions, where hotel nights, match venues and cross-border buses turn into symbols of who really holds the moral and political upper hand?
President, speaking of football, I would like to talk a bit more about the World Cup. Well, it is being reported, I even saw it in La Jornada, but also in international media, that the Iranian national team is going to move its base, its residence from from Arizona's Tucson to Tijuana because of visa problems there in the United States. And according to this, the Iranian team, or at least the Iranian government or Iranian officials, are already talking about this, right? Even so, there is still no information here. FIFA has not confirmed it. Could you tell us about this situation, whether it is true that the Iranian national team will be in Tijuana?
A representative of FIFA came here through one person. They told us that the Iranian national team is going to play in the United States. I think they have 3 matches, right? It's 3, isn't it, in the first round? So all 3 matches of the Iranian team are in the United States. The United States does not want the Iranian team to stay overnight in the United States. They asked us, even though they will play all 3 matches there. So they asked us, can they spend the night in Mexico? And we said yes, without any problem. We have no problem at all. So they are looking at having their base in Tijuana so that they can stay overnight there and travel to the matches they will play in the United States. Therefore, we have no reason to deny them the possibility of staying in Mexico. So yes, we gave that option, and it is being reviewed by Gabriela Cuevas, who is responsible for the World Cup, and Josefina, who is the tourism secretary, in coordination with FIFA, to see how they would stay overnight in Mexico.
Yes, because I suppose that obviously the plane from Iran would come and go, right? In the end, there would also be no problem with that here.
I don't see how they would travel, or on which airline they would travel. They would arrive in Mexico, and then travel on to. That is what FIFA told us. They asked whether we agreed that they could stay overnight in Mexico, and we said yes, with no problem at all.
There is also another controversy, President, about the Congo national team, right? Right now in Congo there is an Ebola outbreak. The United States has even imposed a restriction requiring that, for 21 days, the players of the Congo national team cannot enter. The issue is that Congo is going to have a match here in Guadalajara. So, will there also be some special arrangement here with that team, and even with tourists coming from Africa, from Congo, and I think from Uganda, the other African country, because of this situation, this outbreak that has just been reported?
There have to be certain specific health measures that are worked out together with the country of origin, because obviously, if there is a problem with a contagious disease, then health screening measures must be put in place that guarantee that they are not going to spread it in Mexico. So these are epidemiological measures, health screening filters that must be followed. And in that regard, the Health Secretary, Dr. Kenovich, is paying close attention so that this is how it will be handled.
Yes, because over there in the United States they are going to require the players, the members of the national team, to wait 3 weeks.
Yes, he can explain it. The health ministry is coming tomorrow. He can report in detail which measures they are taking. But these are health measures that have to be adopted because there is a highly contagious disease in those countries. That does not mean that they cannot travel, but rather that they must do so with all the necessary measures that have to be implemented.
Yes, because in addition, with 5 million tourists expected to come to Mexico, there could be a lot. Right now there is a new virus, the hantavirus, and, well, that, as has already been explained in DITA.
In the case of Ebola, health measures obviously must be taken.
Madam President, and in fact, taking advantage of the fact that Escalante from Profico is here, over the weekend there was a statement released which, right, was not from FIFA, but they are very worried about piracy in our country, about all the counterfeit official products and even transmissions. And my thought is that Mexico is attacked over many issues, the drug problem, migration, etc. And now this piracy issue could become another new front, right? They might start saying that there is a lot of piracy in Mexico, while in the United States and in Canada there is not. And so they are very concerned about the issue of broadcasts and so on. But beyond what FIFA as such is asking for, I think that this issue of piracy really could be something that, if it is not controlled, will lead to a lot of criticism of us from the U.S. press, the Canadian press, and the international press, because they are all going to be here, all these media outlets with this agenda that often looks anti-Mexican, as we see. What do you think about this?
I just want to clarify that it was not FIFA that sent the document. In fact, it has not even arrived at our office. They posted it on social media. Okay. It was Felix, the person responsible for the Mexico City host city, who is also an executive of the Azteca Stadium. So, in reality, the one who sends a statement or uploads a statement is them. Since early this morning, I've been exchanging messages with them because there's a working group set up, yes, with FIFA, with FIFA's representative in Mexico, with Jurgen, where several institutions and the president's team take part. And this issue has never been brought up there. That is, it has been handled in those working groups, but IMPI, INDORTA, and the Competition Authority have all been at the table. In other words, there are several institutions working on different topics, including security, under the coordination of Ms. Cuevas, etc. But in this particular case, yes, Profico is part of the working group, yet Profico does not lead all the coordination of the group. From what I understand, their main argument is broadcast rights. They want us to take some role, or to have some role, in protecting televisors' broadcast rights so that these platforms cannot use them. So we are reviewing this. I asked the legal team to review all the powers the institution has. Here the point is to address their request, and we are reviewing how we, INDORTA and, well, the National Anti-Monopoly Commission, are going to respond. That would be the information, President.
But really it's the other way around. I have attended 4 meetings where this has come up, particularly here in Mexico City. We have also held other meetings with the governors of Jalisco and Nuevo Leon beforehand. Not recently, but I have attended 4 meetings with the head of government, where FIFA's executive, FIFA's international executives, FIFA's representative in Mexico, the Azteca Stadium, and the head of government's team to address mobility issues, and the federal government team are all present. At no time in those meetings has this issue been raised. It has never been raised. So it is not right that this is done through social media when there are working groups. So we do not see any problem with that. If it is accessible, the broadcast really should be open, in my view. But, well, FIFA decided, and has believed for some time now, that the matches are broadcast through certain platforms. Those platforms must be accessible so that people can watch the matches, because people are going to look for them. That is why we set up big screens in many parts of the country, so that people can watch the matches for free. But the issue you mentioned has never been raised in the working groups, where the president is present. They are very worried, honestly, about what is going to happen in Mexico. Go ahead. Let's hear from the colleague over here. President, good morning. I am Tia Moragian, correspondent for the news channel that broadcasts in Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua, Tijuana, and Mexicali. President, I would like to know how your administration prevents the brain drain from our country. And today you want Mexican scientists who are beyond our borders to participate in the Mexican Academy, and in which areas of your administration? Well, a student who receives a scholarship from CONICET, now from the Secretariat of Science and Technology, is required to return to the country for 1 or 2 years. It is mandatory, right? 2 years or 1 year? 1 year. They have to return to the country for 1 year to carry out their academic work. That and the creation of opportunities in different institutions. In fact, we are working to open more positions in higher education institutions, in addition to the new universities, so that they can have more space in public universities. So that leads them to return to the country and gives them the opportunity to stay. There are some from earlier generations who stayed abroad, or who go back to other countries because they are offered job opportunities. Obviously, it is up to each person to decide whether to stay in Mexico or go live abroad. What we want is that, if they go abroad, they do not lose their connection with Mexico, because in practice they don't lose it, they have academic ties, but we want there to be a scheme that allows them to stay in contact with a public academic institution. That is why we created the chairs that we presented today.